Put this puzzle piece into the big mix for us so we can understand the importance for the prosecution in getting this testimony.
I mean, I think the prosecution's kind of losing it here with this witness. I think she's not very forthcoming about her testimony. I mean, they're on, what is it, witness number 40 out of 400 witnesses. I would hope that they have witnesses that are more comfortable speaking, that can clearly articulate what they know about the case, what they know about the potential gang activity of YSL. And I just don't think it's particularly helpful for the prosecution. And now, as we heard today, AB is testifying that she was intimidated by the investigator and that the investigator, was offering to take her out or hitting on her. And she brought her son with her to meet with the investigator because she was so uncomfortable. So in my opinion, I just don't think that AB is a really significant witness for the prosecution's case. Yeah,
and the way the witness has been used as hostile, Katherine, never really works for the prosecution. It always looks like, you're trying to get this information out of a witness who doesn't want to give it to you. And what's the reason for that? Is she just afraid for her life? But there's also this collateral issue about a potential Brady violation where the defense has not been given the notes and the interactions between the prosecution and this witness prior to her testifying. What's your take on all that?
Well, I think the prosecution should have disclosed all of that. The text messages at issue here, according to the prosecution, only involved pleasantries. That's how they defined it. But even pleasantries are discoverable. Text messages, whatever it may be, whether you believe it's relevant or not, it's not for you to decide. The bottom line, the Brady rule requires you to disclose those to the other side and let them decide how to interpret that. And perception is reality. If you create a perception that you might be hiding something because you did not disclose it, that seems more of what is happening here, even if it is true that they're all pleasantries. But just disclose it to avoid any insinuation that it is not.
Yeah, and that was exactly my thought when I said, Ms. Love, that ain't your call. You turn it over, somebody else can decide whether it is or isn't important. But just keeping it because you've decided it's unimportant, it just doesn't work that way, and the judge agreed. Well, this witness was also asked on cross-examination whether she had ever told anybody about this robbery. Let's watch.
Do you know what the nature of the relationship is between, between Jeffery Williams and Micah Anderson, All-Out Player?
Yeah, they did music together. Okay.
They've been to the studio together, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever, and this happened, I'm talking back in 2013, right? They did music together back then.
Probably before that.
You were aware that they have been friends or had a relationship since before 2013 and after 2013, right?
Yes.
And certainly, there's no indication. The child that you had in 2013 is Micah Anderson's child, right?
Yes.
All right. Would you, if you were robbed, someone put a gun to your head in two...
I'm going to object as to speculations.
Okay. Was there ever any time in 2013 where you said to Micah Anderson, Jeffery Williams and two other guys came to my apartment and one of them put a gun to my head?
No.
Was there ever a time where you said to Micah Anderson, Jeffery Williams and two other guys came to my apartment and one of them shot into the wall while our child, your baby, was there?
No.
Was there ever a time where you told Micah Anderson that there was this robbery and shooting at your apartment and Micah Anderson still continued to record music with Jeffery Williams?
You repeat it?
Yeah. Was there ever a time where you told Micah Anderson, hey, Jeffery Williams, DK, and some other guy came and stole and robbed me and shot up my apartment? And then after that, Micah Anderson still continued to record music with the person who was supposedly involved with shooting up his house with his baby there?
No.
So I think with this event, if it did occur in 2013, this alleged robbery by the defendant, Young Thug, of this witness, why wasn't it reported to the cops? Jasmine Reed is here, Katherine Lizardo. So, Katherine, I think this is not the only act we've heard about in which there was no police report. There was no follow-up. It's already been 11 years since this alleged event occurred. Is that a big problem for the prosecution?
Absolutely, because one, the evidence are just deteriorating in terms of the witnesses' memories. A lot of the testimony by this AB witness is, I don't know, I don't remember. It was in 2013. I don't even know what I was doing in 2013. So understandably, that's what her testimony is. And the lack of police reporting any calls to 911 with any of these robbery. We're seeing a pattern in this case that's happening because of, yes, maybe there were intimidations going on and they're afraid of it. And if this Anderson kept reporting with Jeffery Williams, even after all of those hostile incidents, it's also because they want to benefit something from Williams. So there's a lot of reasons why they would not report these hostile violence. Maybe they're afraid or they're receiving a benefit that they feel outweigh all of this threat.
We mentioned these communications, Jasmine, between the witness and prosecution. Some of that included this reference to her being so afraid she wanted to kill herself. When the jury hears, to whatever degree they're allowed to hear these stories of alleged intimidation or fear of recrimination, they got to wonder what's real and what's not real.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for a jury to see between that, right? Because certainly the lack of evidence is something that will stand out in a jury's mind. But to me, it doesn't really undermine her credibility and doesn't tell me that this incident didn't actually happen. I think oftentimes with many different communities, there is a lack of trust in police. A lack of trust that the police are actually going to be able to protect them, for example, from YSL if this incident did happen. And so it doesn't surprise me that if there is this regular criminal activity being perpetuated against this community by, the YSL, I'll call it a gang, by this alleged gang, then it doesn't surprise me that they wouldn't be eager to report it to police for fear of reprisal.
Yeah, and Katherine, the jury sees that. I think it's probably palpable to some degree that this woman is afraid. And how does that, bear on their, interpretation of her credibility?
Well, they have to figure out, like you mentioned, whether or not she is telling the truth because of her fear. And what's interesting, though, is the cross-examination by one of the defense attorneys actually made her testify and say that she was afraid not because of Williams or any of the defendants, but because she was afraid of the investigator and also of the prosecution harassing her. So that obviously did not bode well for the prosecution side, because now the question is she afraid of the defendants or the state? So there lies the problem here regarding her credibility.
Exactly. And that leads me to two words: reasonable doubt, as it relates to this incident and this witness. So I don't think it's a great move here for the prosecution. But what do I know? Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We are in Fulton County in the Atlanta area, and we'll get back to that courtroom right after this.